Hey guys, I'm in Los Angeles, California at the California Center for Psychedelic Therapy, and I am really excited because I'm about to get my very first ketamine infusion treatment and psychotherapy session here. And I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm mostly really excited and feel very comfortable because I know I'm in good hands here. So I'm gonna go in and I'll see you guys when I get out. I'll let you know how it goes. So before I tell you guys about my experience with ketamine, I wanted to give you a little bit of background so that you could understand it more as a drug. Ketamine was originally created in the 1960s as an anesthesia drug and has been used both in conventional human medicine and veterinary medicine. And known as the horse tranquilizer drug, ketamine eventually made its way into the underground recreational drug scene and used as a party drug. But more recently, it's been making a lot of noise as a new intervention for depression, PTSD, pain, and other types of conditions. And ketamine is a dissociative drug in the same way that alcohol is, where it actually disrupts the associative learning and processing. So it can be kind of disorienting and disassociative because of that. And it's been building a lot of momentum as the first line of intervention for suicidality or severe depression because it delivers such rapid antidepressant effects. Whereas traditional SSRI type antidepressants typically take 3 to 4 weeks before they start having any sort of benefit. So ketamine has very rapid, immediate antidepressive effects, which is why it's gained so much popularity as a potential solution or intervention in treating depression. So recently, S-ketamine nasal spray, which is a pharmaceutical nasal version of ketamine, has hit the market and has created a lot of noise in this area. So we might ask, what's the difference between ketamine and S-ketamine? Well, ketamine generally is provided within medicine in a racemic mixture, which basically means that half of the molecules in it are the S isomers and the other half are R isomers, which really all that means is that they're right-handed and left-handed versions of each other. So they're identical molecules, but they're mirror images. So the racemic ketamine mix is usually half and half R and S isomers, and S-ketamine is 100% the S isomer. So while they're the same molecule and structure, they do have slightly different pharmacological activities in the body. So ketamine or S-ketamine works by blocking the NMDA glutamate receptor and also releases some monoaminergic neurotransmitters such as serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. It also has some activity on the kappa opioid receptor and probably a number of less significant pharmacological reactions that we don't even know about yet. But ketamine's unique pharmacology produces this somewhat psychedelic experience where people can often have ego dissolution or disorientation within space, or disassociation from a sense of self or an identity. And oftentimes people will report this feeling of oneness and connectiveness in the same way that they sometimes experience that with DMT or 5-MeO DMT. So what's cool about ketamine is it's been found to be neurogenic, which means it actually prompts the growth of new neural structures like dendrites, synaptic spines, and also just new neurons in general. And because of this, they've been studying ketamine for its ability to participate in neuroplasticity and rewiring neural networks, especially those associated with disease or negative thought patterns. It also has been found to reduce glutamate excitotoxicity, which is something that I talk more about in my video on glutamate excitotoxicity and why it's detrimental to mental health. So if you want to learn more about that, you can check out that video. Well, now that you understand a little bit more about what ketamine is, why don't I tell you about my firsthand experience with it a little bit more.
Ketamine, I need.
So my experience with the intramuscular ketamine was profound. So the dosage that I received was, I believe, 0.67 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. And I believe that I'm maybe around 52 kilograms of body weight. I'm 118 pounds. You can do the math, just convert it on Google, whatever. But that was the dosage that I got. It was 0.67 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. And the initial injection, kind of stung a little bit. And the way that it was set up was I had the doctor come into the room, the psychiatrist, and he was the one that actually administered the injection intramuscularly just into my deltoid here. And then there was a trained therapist supervising me the whole time while I had blindfolds and a headset listening to a playlist that they had made. So I was actually quite surprised how quickly the effects started from the injection. Usually I think it takes about 5 to 10 minutes or so for it to start to come up. It really started hitting me in about 2 minutes. It was very rapid. And it's hard for me to remember exactly everything, but I'll just kind of hit on some of the key points and things that I remember and that felt substantial to me in the experience. Pretty soon after the medicine started coming up in my body, I was able to just kind of slip into a deep surrendering state of relaxation and softness and vulnerability. And I was really just kind of breathing in and letting myself sink deeper and deeper into this warm womb type space. And as I started to get kind of high, suddenly my sense of self and identity started to just sort of fade away until I came to this place inside myself that felt so undeniably safe. It felt safe, comfortable, perfect, balanced. It really did remind me of this womb space where there's not a care in the world, and this feeling of deep safety and security that I had been searching for really my whole life. And there I was in this ketamine space, and I had found it. And then I had this dialogue with myself of like, well, what if I want to stay here forever? What if I want to find this place again? And the message that kept coming through is that this place is always there. And then I would, come up with an idea like, well, what if I die? What if I get hit by a car? What if something happens to me? And the answer was, no, you don't even need your body to come to this place. This place exists within your consciousness, not even within your physical body. So if you die and leave your physical body, this place is still there. And really there was just a sense of oneness, almost like a God type experience where you sort of merge with the conscious universe and become one with it, yada yada. But it really did remind me of some of my 5-MeO DMT experiences where that's a similar theme. And it was really lovely to just be in this space of feeling like held in this perfect, pristine womb of safety. And I was probably there for, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. It's hard to say, honestly. But there was this distinct moment of awareness when the medicine started to fade out. And, I was quite into my experience in that womb space. And then there was an immediate sort of shift where suddenly I became aware of the room and I became aware of the therapist sitting there. And I felt like this distinct shift when I dropped back into my body. And suddenly I started to feel the euphoria of that safe, nurturing womb space leaving. And I noticed that I didn't want to leave it. And that as I came into my body, I could feel the burden of being human, the burden of having pain and aches and anxiety and just, presence and how it felt to be embodied. And then I sort of caught myself slipping into this state where I felt impatient, I felt not present, I felt like I was fixating on the next step of the therapeutic process, which is processing with the therapist. Like in the last 15 minutes or so, you like dialogue with the therapist to kind of integrate a little bit. And even though I was still very much in my journey, I wasn't in the depths of it, and I had kind of returned back to my body, and I was like a bit upset about that. I'm like, man, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. I just want to be back in that safe, amazing, comfortable space. And then I had this conversation with myself, like, what are you doing? Like, the moment is now. That was what I said to myself. The moment is now. Because I could feel this anxiousness of like just wanting to run and get to the next thing, which is a pattern in my life that has kept me moving quicker than I probably should be moving. Always chasing the dragon, seeking the new thing, the next step, never really just sitting in the moment and being present and really taking in what's happening right now. So I caught myself sort of falling into that pattern of chasing the dragon, and I just, what are you doing? Be here now, right now. The moment is now. And as soon as I did that and I fully just dove back into being present, there was still so much medicine left to unwind in the ketamine experience, and there was so much more productivity once I just stopped being fixated on finishing or getting to the next goal or whatever it was that I was so fixated on. And then I had this just cool experience where I sort of called in cultivating that safety and security some more, and I was, laying on the couch, and I felt this whole like womb area of my body, like my root and my sacral chakra, suddenly just became like weighted, and I felt this illuminating energy like pushing from my roots all the way down to the earth, making this direct like electrical connection. And I felt the heaviness and the weightedness of my root and sacral chakras just digging into the earth's energetic field and creating this strong attachment. And I had this vision of me being a tree. I could feel my roots growing deep into the earth and grabbing on to the dirt and the rock inside of the earth's crust and faceting myself so securely, so deeply, so that no storm, big or small, could ever blow my tree over. And I just had this cool experience, feeling the stability of having these deep, strong roots that are so faceted inside the earth that, trees just stay in the same place for hundreds and hundreds of years and never blow over. And some of them blow over, but anyways, you get the point. I really got to feel what it was like to be a tree, to be stable, and to be connected to the earth always and forever. And that was a really cool experience. There were other little bits and pieces of just cool imagery of, lights. And while I was in that deep womb space, another sort of profound feeling and thought that came up for me was the idea that the work that I do here in my life, to spiritually open, unblock, and live, the most aligned life that I can with myself and my divinity, I realized that I'm not just doing that work for myself. And when I do that work for myself, I'm actually doing God's work in a way, not to sound religious, but like we're all collectively doing this work together, being on these healing journeys, and we're unwinding each other's karmic issues and energy through each other and with each other. And I just had this really deep sort of knowledge implanted that the work that I'm doing is not just my own. It's consciousness, the universe, using my little meat suit to be its puppet, to go on its own karmic journeys. And by doing this work, I think we're all doing it together and really moving forward as a whole organism of earthlings. Now, how did I integrate all this? What does this mean now? Well, one thing that's clear with the ketamine therapy in general is that it can provide a lot of opening and space for people, but a lot of times the effects aren't sustained. It's not a good long-term intervention for people. It's not the tool that we're looking for to just make people happy for the rest of their lives, but it does breathe in just enough space and relief that people can start to dig themselves out of these holes. Now, one of the issues is that pharmacokinetically, ketamine, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of lasting long-term cascades that result from the drug. There's definitely these neurogenic properties, but it seems like your chemistry is not too altered, in the days, weeks afterwards. Whereas with something like MDMA or classical psychedelics like ayahuasca or even Kambo, you see these sustained changes in physiology at the very least. So it seems like ketamine really is sort of a short-term interrupt and reset that buys you some time. And I think in order for ketamine to have long-lasting effects, integrating the experience in a cognitive way that can help you actually take lessons from your experience and then apply them very consciously to parts of your life. So I'll share with you how, or at least one of the ways that I did that with the ketamine. So I have a massive fear of flying and being on airplanes. It doesn't stop me from flying all over the world, but from the time the plane takes off till the time the plane lands, I'm just on edge. I'm singing like mantras about protection and love and safety. And I have crystals in my bags. Like, I'm just superstitious about it. And the whole time I'm on the plane, I'm basically just can't wait for it to land on the ground and to be off the plane. And I'm just stressed out the whole time until that happens. So I was on a plane and there was some turbulence happening. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to fucking die on this plane and there's nothing I can do. This plane's gonna flip over in the wind, and it was terrifying. And I just thought about my ketamine experience and the safe womb space that I had been to there, and remembered the lesson that I had been taught, that space is always there for me to go back to. And whether I live or die, whether I'm in pain or not, that place is always there. It's pain-free, it's, fear-free, it's just perfect and safe. So I was able to really drop into that space and return there while on this terrifying airplane flight. And I was able to just fully relax and surrender my need to control the situation, and in a weird way accepted that I might die from this terrible plane with turbulence. So that's just one small example of how I've been able to apply my ketamine experience in a very tangible, practical way where it has created more peace and sense of safety in my life. And I do think just in general my neurology has this deeper sense of safety and security, which has helped me function better and mitigate stress more and be more resilient and happy. So that's kind of what my ketamine experience was about, was just finding that place of safety and security. And I'm sure that the experience looks so different from other people's, but one of the cool things about the ketamine is I really feel like I could peel away the part that was like my story, my meat suit, the programming of my physiological body, and I was actually able to feel what my true essence was without the association of the external body that has all these memories of my life and stuff. So it felt like I peeled away my essence from my physical being, which was really neat. So I definitely recommend this intervention to people that are struggling with depression or PTSD, or maybe even just spiritual expansion. I can't necessarily endorse it for that, but I think later we'll come to a time where spiritual expansion is seen as a form of medicine, preventative medicine, and I highly recommend the experience for those that feel called to have it. And I always recommend doing it under the safe supervision of a medical professional, doctor and therapist. So if you're interested, you can learn more about the California Center for Psychedelic Therapy that has just opened up in the Los Angeles area. And feel free to reach out if you want to share your ketamine experience. If you like this video, then please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get updates on all other sorts of weird, goofy, and interesting videos that I post. And feel free to check out our website, EntheoZen.com, if you're looking for natural, safe, sustainable, and effective alternatives to drugs to manage your mood and brain health. We have a whole line of brain health supplements that are formulated by me and are there to provide you with tools to support your health, your happiness, and your wholeness. Thanks again for watching.